Hi, this is Marnie and Sue. We're back with Marnie and Sue's Peep Show, our online business reality show where we give you a peek behind the scenes of our businesses. And today we're going to be talking about the trends that we see going on online in online business. And so we haven't really compared notes on the trends other than a little bit. I started to document the trends that I had spotted over the last couple decades in business, and the trends I was seeing, and shared that with Sue, and so we thought we'd talk about that today. Sue, did you want to talk about anything on that regard, the trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, I have a few that I have been seeing lately, and it's causing me to really think about how I want to make changes to my business. And I know you've thought about the same thing, how you want to make changes to your business in order to take advantage of or capitalize upon trends, and also in order to force ourselves as business owners to let go of the things that are no longer working for us. Because, you know, as business owners, that happens to us when you've been in business as long as Marnie and I have been in business. Because, I don't know, Marnie, I think the other day we figured out between us we've been online something like over 30 years. And so we have a lot, we have a lot of experience. So, and I just want to also note, this is the 11th episode of the Peep Show, or the online business reality show, as we're calling it too. And so we kind of want to hear from you guys, like, what would you like to have us talk about? We talk about what's been on our minds or what's been happening to us in the past week since the previous Peep Show. And we're always happy to answer your questions live. If you're on live with us today, you can put a question in the group chat, and we'll read that question. If you're not online with us live and you want to send a question for us to answer, you can send that question to info@confidentmarketer.com. So what you have once a week is you've got two people live in front of your face who have 30-plus years of experience in online marketing and in owning their own business at your fingertips, ready to answer a question. That's a fabulous thing to take advantage of. So we hope that you will, and we want to hear from you what you would like to hear from us, questions you'd like to ask. So trends, yeah, so the thing, how we got started doing this, Marnie put together a piece, as she said, for herself, where she was going through and realizing all of the trends that she called over the past, 20 years, Marnie?
Yeah, about 20, yeah.
And why don't you tell some of our folks today, like, show those. I mean, talk a little bit about some of those things, because you really were and are a trend noticer and a trend watcher, as I am. And Marnie and I talk about that a lot, because we get that intuitive hit. We see things coming down the pipe, and we'll watch it, and 6 months later, it's real. So, but talk about some of those from your perspective, and then I've got some, too, that I'm seeing, like, right now in the past few months.
Okay, I think I'll try a screen share since I've got these on. Let's just try that and see how that works.
Okay.
We'll go with that. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
And present to everyone, so hopefully everybody can see that. All right. Back in 1994, before the web became a household word, I used online marketing, I did information marketing with AOL and CompuServe, and those little dial-up bulletin boards that you dial into, and I'd take excerpts from my books and upload them on the internet and sell that book. People start sending me checks in the mail. So that spawning of that internet wave also took me into 1996. My friend and I created the first online mall, and I went around to local businesses that were my clients and started putting them online as early as 1996. And that was, most people didn't even know what the web was back then.
Yeah.
And then in 1998, I created Ideal Marketers, which was the first article marketing directory, as a way to get your message out to more people and create inbound links and search engine juice. And then another one was, back when The Secret, before that ever came out,
yeah,
I had a good friend that was teaching those principles, and I invited her to be part of the She Loves God virtual conference that I did every year, and actually that was kind of a trend ahead because nobody was doing telesummits yet. They didn't even know what I was talking about when I do this virtual conference.
Yeah.
So I brought her on to talk about those same principles, and eventually her book went on to become a bestseller on those same principles. And then I think this thing is just showing a capture. I don't know exactly how that works, but
yeah, well, it looks like you could scroll down, but
scroll now.
Yeah, there you go. You've got the rest of it now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then back when I was doing Ideal Marketers, I realized, hey, we could create ads that would go to people based on what their interests are, and so I started to use the database development that I had done to target ads based on the content people were looking at, and it began to integrate that into my site until I was making multiple six figures in ad revenue by doing contextual advertising. And I really saw what was coming with Facebook, the way you could target down, and I really wanted to do that, but I wasn't quite sure, the mechanism of how to do it at the time, but I could see that was coming. And then what I am really seeing is the information overload that people are on, where they buy products, they sit on their computers, they don't implement them, and then they kind of get to the point where they stop buying those information products because they realize they're just throwing money away. And so I've taken that trend that I'm seeing and I've started to create done with you solutions. So it's a combination of training in a group setting or either by live webinar where they get the instruction, and then the hands-on live one-on-one assistance that personalizes it to their project. And it's almost a throwback to the computer training days that I did, because when I would teach computer training when I very first started my business in 1990, I didn't just teach the standard courseware. I would take somebody who needed to learn Excel, and then I'd teach them how to use it on the problem that they needed to solve in their business. So it was customized to their application. And so that's what I'm doing with my How to Create Programs in a Week or Less, and the different trainings I'm doing, is I'm making them more personalized to the person so that it gets applied. And my focus is that I want them to get results. I don't want them to buy programs that sit on a computer somewhere and never get implemented. So I think there's a trend to that. I'm seeing a lot more people starting to do, I think you said Rick, Paul Evans is doing concentrated trainings as well in like a 1 week format. So I think there's probably a trend with that.
Yeah, he and I were talking back a couple of months ago, and he was the first person I ever heard use the term done with you instead of done for you. And I really think that that's true. People kind of want and need a little bit more hand-holding because the technology and so much is changing in the world of online marketing so quickly that even if you're working through a course yourself, you end up inevitably having questions and really kind of wanting a little more hand-holding. So that whole thing about done with you instead of done for you, or you do it yourself, I think the trend has moved from do it yourself to done for you, and now to done with you. And one of the reasons, Marnie, I think that trend is here is because done for you services often end up being too off the shelf and not tailored enough for the individual business owner to be exactly what they need. It's too much like a widget. And none of our businesses are light factories, so widget applications don't work. Widget applications don't work anyway in dealing with humans writ large. I mean, that's been my complaint for most customer service in this country anyway. So you know that whole trend is a very cool one. But I just want people to notice, my hat is really off to you, because I want people to notice what you said about back in time. You made multiple six figures by being able to sell ads that were contextual, that were in the context of the person who was seeing the information and really personalized to them. And that is now what Facebook has made a multi-billion-dollar business from. They do contextual advertising. What I see in my news feed is different than what Marnie sees in her newsfeed or what you, the listener right now, sees in your newsfeed. And by the way, Marnie, talking about, we were talking about last week, I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent and then we'll come back. We were talking about last week how you just have to put it out there and put it out there and put it out there, and then finally things start taking root. You can't just quit if you try it once. This is our 11th Peep Show, and I believe you heard us say last week that oftentimes there's not anybody listening live on the Peep Show, and today my dashboard shows we have 22 people watching us live. So, see, it's starting to take hold. I don't know if you should be able to see that from your dashboard as well, Marnie. So, well, maybe we'll get some live questions today. Who knows? But, yeah. So, there's a couple of trends. I guess, do you have other trends that you're seeing, like right now today, that you want to throw out? And then I've got a few as well.
The only other thing that I was thinking about is reinvention. I see a lot of people reinventing themselves and going in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah. I've been doing that some. In fact, I was just talking with Paul Evans on the phone earlier today. Today, by the way, is the 2-year anniversary of when my knee blew apart. 2 years ago today, I was lying in a hospital bed, and a doc leaned over and said, you probably will never walk again, and if you do, it won't be by yourself. And so 2 years, I've been working on this, 2 solid years. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been a lot of effort. But now where was I going with that? What I see is I was talking to Paul, and because of those last 2 years, I've had an online business where I did it mostly from home, but I used to be on the speaker circuit. And now that I can stand up long enough to deliver a speech, I kind of like to get back on the speaker circuit. And so I can see some of my work going from producing product and coaching. I'll never quit coaching, but I also want to do more speeches and do more books, because the book that you helped me format for Kindle, how to get more clients and help more people, actually was #1 on Amazon in his category last week. 2 days in a row, which is hard to do 2 days in a row. So I now have this Amazon bestseller, which actually is my 3rd Amazon bestseller. And it's time for me to start leveraging those books and creating a broader audience who knows me from my speaking and my writing rather than from my products and my coaching. So so that's a shift that I see for me. And it's not a complete 100% reinvention, but it is a reinvention. It's kind of turning back and going back to some of the things that I used to do. And, you and I have spent the summer really talking about reinvention and how we're switching our businesses around a little bit to better serve people because their needs have changed, and then what we want to offer has changed as a result.
Yeah. I had some other idea come to me about the trend I was seeing, and then it flitted out of my mind. Do you have another one, and maybe mine?
Well, yeah, I have a couple, and you'll think of yours in a minute. You know how that goes. There's a couple of things. One is on this whole topic of webinars versus teleseminars. The hot thing has been for people to leave telesummits and teleseminars and go over to webinars so that they have the teaching and they're not just talking. And I like webinars, and I think they're great. But I have seen a trend in webinars that I did a little rant on my Facebook page the other day about this. I've seen a trend in webinars where for the entire webinar, all you're looking at is a slide of the picture of the people who are talking. They don't actually produce content in their PowerPoint deck. They just throw up the title of the webinar and a picture of themselves, and then at the end they might have one slide that is the link to where you can go buy their offer. That's not a webinar. That's a teleseminar with one. I mean, to me, that is just as lazy as the day is long. And I'm seeing that trend, and I'm hating it. I'm like, don't be doing that to me. If you're so lazy that you won't do a PowerPoint presentation for a webinar, then just freaking do a teleseminar and don't even have the graphics. Because if you're going to be that lazy at a webinar, what is your product going to be like? Probably just as lazy. I'm not buying it. So it's like, I don't like that trend. And lately I got invitations to go watch a couple of different webinars, I think last week or the week before, and 3 out of 5 of them had no slides. They had the title of the webinar and a picture of the person doing it. Now, I don't know what you think about that, but I think that's lazy as the day is long.
Pretty lazy, yeah.
And of course they were like, well, we don't know really where it's going to go or what we're going to talk about. Well, fine, Marnie and I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're live here and you can see our faces and you can see our hands and you can see our expressions. You're not just staring at a static picture of me and of Marnie, which would be, why do that? Why would we be, it would be like doing a Google Hangout like this live, but then you're not really looking at anything live. So that's one thing. But the other trend that I want to talk about is, everybody is talking about how to get organic reach on Facebook and other social media, and we've talked about before, there's almost no organic reach. You have to be prepared to pay to play, and that's true in any big way. But it used to be that Facebook liked a picture. If you put up a picture, you got a whole bunch of views, right? Or you got more views in your newsfeed, and then they used to like links with the picture, and now lately they've taken that away and they don't want links anymore, and they call it link bait or link litter or all those different terms you hear. So I was sitting around about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I was like, okay, I know I have to have Facebook as a part of my budget, but I'd sure like to get more than 6 or 8 people looking at what's on my Facebook page, because I have 800 who signed up to get it and they're not getting it. So I started taking blog posts or things that I wrote that were 2 or 3 paragraphs long and putting it on there with no picture and no link, just text. Do you know it shot up from like 8 views to 88 views? And I'm starting to see that you're getting more organic ride off of Facebook for that kind of stuff. I've tested it again. I've tested it 2 or 3 times this week. And I will put on my Facebook page, not my personal profile, although it'll work the same for your personal profile, I think. But on the page, I'll put a picture with a link to something, and then I'll take that exact same blog post and just put the entire blog post on there. The link will get 2 or 3, and 2 or 3 people will see it, and the entire blog post will get 60 or 70. Don't put the link in. They don't like the link. And I'm not even putting the picture. All of my blog posts have at least one graphic. And usually I put the graphic onto social media. I've taken it out. I'm not doing it. And I'm getting more. So just as a trend that I'm seeing, the other trend that I'm seeing is more and more people who want a guaranteed thing when they open a business. I'm getting a lot of coaching questions when I'm coaching. I coach for Allie Brown, and I answer once a week usually a show where we just answer questions live, and then of course I answer my own clients' questions. And I'm getting a lot more, and people write me on the internet and send me emails. I get questions all the time. So I'm seeing more people who they want you to tell every single thing, and they want it perfect so that they absolutely have a guarantee that it's going to work. And I'm just here to tell you, if there is a coach who guarantees you that, do not hire that coach. I cannot guarantee that to you. It depends on how you implement it. It depends on your market. It depends on your mindset. But you got to get away from this perfection thing where you don't want to put it out there unless you know it's going to be a success. I don't know what I'm going to do is going to be a success, and Marnie doesn't either. We throw things out there all the time. This whole peep show, we didn't know if it'd be. I mean, we've not made a dime off of it yet. It'll be for us, and we have a good time doing it. So, we're doing it, and we'll see where it takes us. So those are some of the things I see. And I'm sure you have others as well, and I probably have others that maybe, have you thought of yours that you couldn't get in your mind a minute ago?
Yeah, I thought of a couple of them.
Okay.
Number one, I think the instant gratification, I know we've seen that, but I think that's going to just keep continuing. Yeah. So like on Facebook advertising, you get a better response out of something that's an instant video, an instant download versus, say, a webinar somebody has to sign up for later.
Yeah.
That whole procrastination factor of waiting to the last minute, and just everything's impulse. We're being trained to just do everything on impulse and not really plan ahead. And
yeah,
Stephen Covey would have a field day for no priorities. Everything's just that thing that pops up is urgent. So I think that's going to just keep continuing. And then also offline businesses, I think there's a big market for people who want to help offline businesses be more successful with technology and online and mobile resources and stuff. I think there's a big gap right there. There's still that don't understand, that have brick and mortar businesses that don't get that, the tech world.
I agree, and I think it's both big places and mom and pop places. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was talking to somebody yesterday. I talked with one of the people who helped teach Instant Customer and Traffic Geyser. Had like 2 hours with him on the phone yesterday and was asking them every question under the sun. And she has actually built her business going to local mom and pop small places where she lives, and she lives out in Arizona, and helping them with creating some kind of an online internet strategy because they have none. And they don't have the time typically to learn it or to do it. And so she is doing it for them and with them both, talking about what we were talking about a few minutes ago, done for you and done with you. Because there are businesses who just don't. We all have things in our businesses that we just don't have time to get around to. Like I really need I need to find somebody who can just call and going to kind of ramp that up again. I don't have time to sit on the phone and try to do that 20 or 30 phone calls a day because I'm busy with clients. So we all have things that we don't have time to do. And typically for mom and pop shops, they don't have time and sometimes the interest or even the savvy to understand that whole world of online marketing. I think Marnie has really pointed out a good trend. You can go back, and that is a trend that I see. A lot of online marketers like me, they work all over the world, and then now there's like this trend to going back local and having relationships at the local level, which I don't even have that many relationships at a local level because, for one thing, I live in 2 places. So I'm very mobile. So I'm here half the year, and I'm in Florida half the year, and so I don't really have like a networking group that they see my shining face every week, week after week after week. But there's value in that if you can do that in your local area, if you're not as mobile as I am. I mean, Marnie, you could definitely do that. And maybe you do. I don't know.
Working on it, doing a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I do think that we've gotten all into this online world, and we're all kind of selling to each other in a way. Or we're selling to people who have they're comfortable with the online world, and there's this whole other nest over here that we're ignoring while we're just trying to almost be lazy and use the online and the instant gratification, instant marketing tools. It takes more legwork to get that offline world, and it takes more stepping outside your comfort zone. And I'm feeling like I need to do that more. I'm getting involved in like local community things lately, and to try to hit an audience that's just not being addressed. It's like all these other people need this help, but we're not stepping outside of our comfort zones to do it. So I think very few people will be willing to do what it takes to go reach that audience, but they need it.
They do need it, and it goes back to really building those one-on-one relationships that are personal rather than through the internet. And I for sure, I don't really spend a lot of time doing that. I've thought about that. And in fact, Bill and I have thought about, if I really want to go back to doing that, then we need to pick a place to live and stay there. And we kind of sort of don't really want to do that, so I just say, well, for now, I'll stay online. But there's definitely a market that needs your help. And interestingly enough, the complaint in the online marketing world is that a lot of people don't have the money to invest in what it is you're trying to market to them, because there's a lot of people who are hobbyists who are not really serious about their business. But if you are helping a local person who has a brick and mortar business, they typically will have at least a little bit more money to think about what the things that you could help them with. Because in order to stay, you can't be a hobbyist and have a brick and mortar business. You have too many hard costs. So if you're a brick and mortar business in a little town or in a big town, you're serious about your business because you've got that rent to pay. And while I pay licensing for my business, I don't pay as much as if I had a brick and mortar place. I mean, I used to have a brick and mortar place. I had a massage clinic that was in a medical arts building when we lived in Knoxville. And, you know, people walked in off the street who wanted to sell me stuff or who wanted to become clients, and doctors walked down the sidewalk and asked if I could help with such and such client who couldn't get her jaw open that day or whatever. So it's a whole different kind of community. And actually, I loved that community. It was kind of like my little stomping grounds. And I did that for 14 years, and I loved it. And then I moved totally online. And so I see the benefits of both, and I see how to work with both. I have a lot of experience, really, in how to work with both. But I've just been out of that for a number of years now. But I agree with you. I think it's needed, and I think there's a trend there. And I think there's a lot of people at the local level who really need to understand even 25% of what you and I have in our heads about how to market online and how to build that presence.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll go out on a limb with another prediction.
You heard it here first.
I think that people are going to find that the online connection is never going to satisfy. I mean, I think we use it to get the acknowledgement and the instant response, and we kind of got addicted to this instant response. Oh, somebody liked it, but because of the way Facebook and all the other things are getting saturated and readjusting, we're not getting our fix.
No, we're not.
Of that, and we're going to have to probably, I think people are going to wake up and realize that that's not ever going to satisfy anyway, and they'll go back to working on real relationships that are individual and one-on-one and live. I think eventually it's going to swing back. The pendulum will swing back the other way, where people won't be so, I don't know, it may take a little bit, but I think it'll swing back.
Well, don't you think part of that is just being human? I mean, it is the human scale.
Yeah.
You know, there's all this stuff in organizational theory, and in fact some businesses do that, where when a business grows to about 200 people and then they get more than 200 employees, all kinds of research shows that their effectiveness goes down the tubes. Their span of control and their span of how many people you can know in a business and work with them to get things done, like in teams, it deteriorates after about 200. So it's some company, I can't remember now if it's Google or who, but every time they hire up, every time they get past a 200 mark, they break off another set of people and house them in a whole different location and just let those people work with those people. So they have 5 or 6 locations of 200 people, and they're like little mini businesses, if you will. And that's because as humans, we can only reach out and touch so many people. There is a human scale to us because of who we are as humans. So it is true. I mean, like on Facebook, I have people who want to friend me often who I don't know. And I probably have 1,000 friends out of the 4,000 or 5,000 I've got on Facebook. I mean, I know a lot of people, but I don't know every single one of those folks. They wanted to connect with me in some way, but yet after that connection, there's no substance there. So I understand what you're saying. It's food for thought for our businesses too. Like, how can we do that? And I think that is all. Well, another trend I see is that for a lot of time, when the economy got hard back 4 or 5 years ago, you know, live events were dying. Excuse me. And now I think live events are coming back again, like the one I'm going to go to with Paul here shortly. Live events are coming back because people want that human connection. So I just see that's another little trend too.
Yeah, yeah. And I think people who are willing to go beyond just the internet connection, like willing to pick up the phone, willing to go to a live event, willing to, you know, actually make some kind of individual contact with their customers, are going to stand out in the sea of people who are just lazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, you know what? We forgot we were supposed to look at when we were going to do our peep show next week, so I guess we'll have to send it out in the letter because we didn't. We're getting lazy about setting that up ahead of time. You know what? When we get off of here, we need to set it up for the next couple of weeks so people can mark their calendars. Did we get any live questions? You've got the dashboard instead of today, so I don't know if we have any live questions.
Let me reload this page again and see if there's any good. I don't see any.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. Well, you know you can ask live if you want to, or again, you can send us your questions at info@confidentmarketer.com. If you are not signed up to get notifications about when the peep shows are, and also to get access to the replays, you need to go to confidentmarketer.com/peep show, and you can leave your name and your email address, and we will send you. We'll put you on our list for the peep show, so that every week you'll get, this is where it is, and then after the peep show's over, you'll get another email that says, here's the live link, here's the link to the replay, so that you can keep up with them and watch them at your leisure if you can't join us live. Anything else, Marnie?
I think that's it.
Okay. It's good to see you.
Too.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.